aggro was kind of suffering a little bit. And then Dire Mole was like released, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, an aggro card, a good 1-mana minion," and everyone just slammed that in along with Corridor Creeper, and it just became a really powerful neutral package with Cobalt Scalebane. And since then, we've seen a lot of decks that try to get on the board fast, really sliding these 1/3 minions. They can be extremely important as a building block. Let's go into game number 1, Cube Warlock versus what looks to be Even Shaman, and that is a matchup that I'm going to be looking forward to a lot because Amnesiac doesn't stream very often, but when he did stream in the past 6 months or so, I saw him play a lot of Even Shaman versus Warlock, period. Like it was Control Warlock, or it was Even Warlock, or it was Cube Warlock at the beginning of the Witchwood meta. And I would just see Amnesiac somehow squeeze victories, despite this being, on paper, one of Shaman's worst matchups.
Yeah, absolutely. It has some game against it, so we are seeing 2 Acidic Swampoos in Amnesiac's deck, which can help with the Skull Minari.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about Even Shaman is that they're not really good at coming back on board, and by the time that Cube Block has a board, the damage has kind of already been done, and so cards like Hex aren't really that effective. And so it's really all about getting an explosive start, hoping that your opponent doesn't have any clears like the Defile or Hellfire, and winning from there, but I see both of those in the hand of Bobby.
Well, I mean, oh my goodness. Okay. I mean, this is already just a deviation from something that I would come to expect. Amnesiac choosing to play the Acidic Swampoos for tempo. This is how aggressive he wants to be. He's not even afraid of the Skull. He says, you know what, by the time you play Skull, I can get maybe 9 damage in. And this is not even Warlock. You don't care about the 15 health breakpoint for Hooked Reaver. You just rush your opponent down as fast as you can.
Yeah, and I think that's also just a on-the-fly analysis of his hands. You see Lich King, you see Kalamos, you see the Hex. The Sea Giant picked up now. His hand is just, there's just no playable cards besides the Eel, and when that's the case, you just need to play cards just to try to get ahead on board. Because like I said, once you fall behind, it's hard coming back.
Yeah.
And even with the Skull of Minari, I'm not seeing any demons.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Skull is not even useful if there's no demons behind it. Hellfire is an option here for Bobby X. Prince Taldaram to stall the board a little bit.
Putting it on the taunt so he takes as little damage as possible. And the thing is, with the Ziliax is in the hand, you have the coin, but you just picked up the Mountain Giant, and so you really want to not empty your hand because you want to get that out as soon as possible. And this is what I was talking about with Amnesiac, his hand. He picked up his entire top end of his deck, so his only playable is the Hex, and I can't see him putting that on a taunt totem.
Yeah, the Hex is essentially to push a little bit of extra damage. Hold on, let's map this out. So let's say he hexes. There's 4 minions on the board. He plays Mountain Giant. He can play Sea Giant the following turn. And then his opponent can Hellfire and clear. That's not very good. Then you go into turn 6 with no real plays. Yeah, this is kind of awkward for Amnesiac. And it's like you said, he drew pretty much all of his top end except for another Sea Giant. For reference, Amnesiac's not even playing Hagatha.
Oh, wow, I didn't even see that. That's what a lot of people consider to be kind of just like your only comeback condition is with the Hagatha, not only to clear board, but to just generate enough resources to just do that final little push to get the lethal.
Yeah.
But, like I said, not even in the deck. Sea Giant unplayable, just a hero power pass.
Yeah, so this is Amnesiac investing into the board state in case his opponent does not play anything. Like, let's say his opponent coins and plays Skull. Then he can play Sea Giant still, because it'll cost 5 mana. Assuming the 3/3 trades into the 0/2. This is a very good spot here for Amnesiac, and something that's very hard to do when you're, like, staring at a hand that's very awkward. You tend to tunnel in on, like, okay, if my hand's like this, do I have to play as aggressive as possible? But he kept his hand as flexible as possible. Either he can develop or remove the next turn. Yeah, I like that.
I think that's what separates the good players from the great players is that, like, when you have, like, just, like, the absolute best draw, it's just like, well, anyone can play that correctly.
Yeah.
But the best players know what to do when everything goes wrong. And so if you are a Tice fan out there, there are situations where back in, like, the Raza Priest days, there were moments where he would have Raza in his opening mulligan. He's like, I want to practice this deck when I don't have Raza on 5. And he would mulligan it away just so he could practice these worst-case scenarios.
Yeah, it's not always about just getting the W that very instance. This is a little bit of a tricky situation, though. Hex is more than warranted. And the nice thing, though, about Amnesiac is He still gets to develop a little bit of the board with the hero power, but it's not amazing.
Yeah, it's just rough. It's like, do you play your own Sea Giant and it's to contest his Sea Giant? Do you use your removal now and not develop anything? This 3/3 taunt is just surprisingly done a lot of work.
Yeah, the hero power is also a liability because of the threat of Defile.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 chance to get the 1/1, so now Defile is wide open.
Right. I like the Sea Giant play, though. It gives an opportunity to save Hex if the 8/8 trades into it. Not many easy ways to remove. Oh, man. Cube with Dark Pact is a really big swing on the board right now. I wonder if Bobby X is just going to play defense, though. Like, maybe he feels like Shaman's not a deck that you want to out-tempo, but you just want to clear and out-value.
That's definitely a viable option. I think people have forgotten the old Cube Lock Mirror days where it's whoever got the Giant down first, you would just go face because you always had the Cube Dark Pact followed up, doubling the amount of Giants you have. But with Even Lock kind of taking the front stage in the Warlock game, people kind of forgotten that you can double with Carnivorous Cube. But I think he's going for the play that you described, where he knows his deck is just so much more value-oriented than Amnesiac's, so he can play for board and just get there eventually. He doesn't have to push that damage right now. But Amnesiac's, we were talking about, he got the top end, and we're getting to that mana point where he's going to actually be able to start playing his hand.
Yeah. Gangraming is not exactly the best in this position, too, given that it feels really easy to remove, but it's your best minion.
That's just a sad sentence to say out loud. Grand Gamain's our best minion.
I mean, it still warrants removal. Like, you know, if the Grand Gamain hitting the face is like a high mid hitting the face. So if you can connect it, it's still fairly strong. The only problem is if Bobby X does exactly this, which is Carnivorous Cube into Dark Pact.
Double trade into the 6/5.
I hate to see.
Oh. Gonna clear off the totems instead.
Yeah. This shuts off Flame Tongue value, so like if Bobby X ended up double trading to this Gangraming, would have been kind of disastrous if Flame Tongue Totem ends up getting free trades.
Good heads-up play by Bobby. Serenite, Direwolf Alpha. We can play our hand, but these 3/2 still have Divine Shield. Blood Knight with the Giggling Inventor nerf I don't see coming up in anyone's deck list, so Divine Shield's going to do a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, Blood Knight is pretty much out of the meta right now for most decks.
The nerf no one's talking about.
You know, the fact, you know, aside from the fact that you can't play it in even deck.
That too.
But yeah, this is an awkward spot for Amnesiac, considering that he can't full clear everything, and he wants to set up the best possible way for his turn 8. All of his turn 8s, though, are looking kind of mediocre because Calamos has no activator. Lich King looks like you won't even have full board presence if your opponent plays a single Hellfire.
Getting rid of the Spell Power Totem because... Wait a minute.
Yeah, he can't attack with it just yet.
Oh, it came down this turn. That's my bad.
So he wants his opponent to Hellfire right now?
I think that's what he's trying to bait out, yeah. Just because and it's not even like it's bad on Bobby's side. It's like it's still a very good play. He has the Void Lord in hand now, so there is some merit to playing the Skull Minari. If he wants to get the Doomsayer down, he's going to want to play that first before the Skull because of the way the order is going to happen. It's going to blow up the Void Lord as well. So if he wants to go for that, he's got to make sure to play the Doomsayer first. But like I said, I still like Hellfire. Still just good.
I'm also okay with just... yeah. No, this makes the most sense. I like to tap too, tap just in case, you know, it changes his play whatsoever. Alec here with Flame Tongue. That is some big burst potential here from Amnesiac. If he can stick a single minion, Lich King can pick up Army of the Dead, and that is going to be Amnesiac's ticket out to potentially blow out Bobby X. But Bobby X has some of his best plays still yet to come. We have Skull the Minari with double Demon in hand, and also Blood Reaver Gul'dan. And without Hagatha, Amnesiac can't really play the long game.
Yeah, the Alakir Flame Tongue, definitely just a super strong combo. The problem with it right now is that it's going to set back the Calamos an extra turn if he wants to wait for that 10 mana. So I think it's going to have to be the Lich King this turn with the Alakir next turn, and then hopefully the Calamos Flame Tongue combo on turn 10 if the Alakir stays around. But we're going to have to see some big swing turns coming out from Amnesiac in the next couple of turns.
Death Grip. Not what he wants to see. I mean, I guess it could steal something nice like the Void Lord.
Yes. the Possessed Lackey, I think, is guaranteed to pick up that Void Lord. So Death Grip would not get anything, but I think he's choosing to clear off the Lich King, as he probably should, because the more Lich King cards he has, the more of a chance he has to come back in the game.
This Doomsayer is very inconvenient for Amnesiac, but the good news is that there's no demons in the pool for Blood Reaver Gul'dan. That does set up a really nice squeaky board opportunity for Bobby X to just maybe slam a demon down.
It's so weird to think of just like how Bobby has had the skull since turn 1, has yet to play it, and it's just like, and it was just correct. He didn't have any demons in his hand to summon with, and now we're getting into turn 9 and 10, and he can just play them normally. He doesn't even need the skull.
Right. You can see Amnesiac. I mean, he has 2 Acidic Swampoos in his deck, so he had the opportunity to pick up another one, but the skull has not been a factor as of the moment, and he would have been holding that card forever. Amnesiac has the ability to set up an Elemental Chain. He can play Fire Plume Phoenix right now to maybe invest into the following board opportunity. And if Bobby X plays like a big board, he can also just play Kalamos for board presence, but it's not very good.
Yeah, choosing not to activate the Elemental as well, which is interesting, because I think he's just valuing the 3/3 body at this point, because the Battle Cry really isn't going to be able to kill anything at this point in the game, just because the only things that are going to be coming out are Doom Guards, Void Lords, and the like. But again, I think one of the big things he could have done to come back in this game is just maybe get a big Kalamos board up with a bunch of 1/1s, try to push damage that way, but just choosing not to do anything. I wonder how much time Amnesiac thinks he actually has in this game.
Not much, unfortunately. Without things like Hagatha and the Lich King already used, Amnesiac's ability to grab tempo away from Bobby, now that Void Lord's on the board, is pretty much relegated to how he can use his Hex.
The one copy of, by the way.
This is a really important turn for Amnesiac, because Hex, Fire Plume Phoenix, still really good, and then Bobby X still needs a turn to get set up, and then that's where Flametongue Totem can finally kick in. So this is Amnesiac's big final push. I think if this doesn't work, the game's over, but it still can work, and that's what's still scary for Bobby X, because he only has demons and ways to resurrect demons, and ways to combo demons.
That's a pretty good demon, though.
As good as it gets, and you said that he only has 1 Hex.
This one, and like we were talking about earlier, no odd cards are allowed in this deck, so Urshock not an option as well.
But now, Flametongue plus Kalamos clears that Void Lord and sets up the 7/7. I don't know if that's as good as maybe Alakir, but Alakir is not exactly amazing either, because you lose the Alakir, or you don't lose Alakir, but you lose it very easily to just like a single...
AoE. Definitely a rough spot. I think this is definitely one of the downsides of only running 1 Hex in your list. I don't think Q-Block was on his radar when he was building it. I don't think it was on anybody's radar. It took me by surprise for sure. Turns out the deck is still just good.
Is it better to squeeze out value through waiting on the Kalamos? The thing about Kalamos is that you don't have another elemental. Let me look at his deck list real quick. He has 2 fire elementals and 1 more Fire Plume Phoenix by my count.
That's it.
And that's it. I mean, he still has a healthy amount of cards in his deck. I'm eyeballing that's at least 15 cards. It's not very good probability. I think with this Flametongue setup, he's going to play one of his big bombs. And I think it looks like it's Kalamos.
Yeah, with so many cards left in the deck and only 3 cards that can activate Kalamos, you got to use it when you can, and it's just real hard to find another spot. And Gul'dan's going to come down this turn, most likely, summon it right back, and Amnesiac's kind of back where he was.
Yeah, that's where Hagatha would be really nice. Although, it's not nearly as bad, because Bobby X summons back Void Lord. It just kind of dies to the 9/7.
True. Maybe we get the Skull online, try to get some Doom Guards out there. You can afford to take a hit or 2.
It's true.
But
if your opponent's holding Ooze, though, it feels like a giant waste of tempo. And tempo still does matter for at least a couple more turns here, unless he can lock him out with Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
Good order on the Doomsayer.
Yep.
So he only sees 9 damage on board. There's a whole lot more coming from behind.
Oh my goodness!
Off the top!
19 damage available right now, too, with the Alakir.
I'm assuming some of that's going to go into the Doomsayer.
Well, yeah, so he can... Yeah, he can Alakir and Ooze.
Yeah.
And then push 10.
No overload.
Godfrey is the last possible clear. That'd be really scary. But C2, 4. I mean, I don't think you can afford to play around it. I think Amnesiac maybe has one last window, so this is his best chance.
Wait, no, I don't think Godfrey clears because of the Divine Shield. The Alakir would be at 3 health. When the third
You're
Godfrey
right, because it doesn't take 2 damage.
Yeah.
Right.
And so even Godfrey's not a full clear.
It would have to be something else. It'd be like something plus Godfrey.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any sort of... I can't see any sort of defile math working out right now. So this is a very weird board for the Q block to deal with. And
well, Spellstone. So he has Spellstone and the coin.
There's the defile. But I think it's just going to be a Gul'dan.
But now Amnesiac already has that preemptive board.
Definitely where Even Shaman does its best work is when it already has a board and it can just build off of that.
Right.
Second Argent Commander went in the hand. Corpse Taker, I'm trying to think what buffs it would have when it comes onto the field. I think it would still have Lifesteal, but I don't think it's going to have Divine Shield or Wind Fear anymore.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a punish for Amnesiac setting up his Ooze next to his Flame Tongue Totem. He loses the ability for really good trades for the 9/7 to go into the Void Lord and then the Ooze to clean up stuff, but still has pretty good trades here in this spot, I'd say.
This is definitely the turn where Hagatha would be absolutely insane, being able to push through all of these and then be able to push more damage to the face.
Yeah.
The Argent Commander does not feel good at all to have to waste a Divine Shield on a 1/3, but I don't think he really has any other options at this point.
Yeah. I think he's hoping for a Healing Totem in this spot. Doesn't get it. And I think because of the threat of like Defile and other things like that, developing onto the board could end up becoming a big mistake for Amnesiac. I think he might have to let this go, but I don't think he can win if he lets it go. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Oh, yeah, also funny enough, not really much benefit here for the Corpse Taker anyways.
3 health, Divine Shield doesn't mess with or the lack of Divine Shield doesn't really mess with any sort of defile math anyway. The Godfrey picked up off the top should be plenty now that the Alakir and all the Voidwalkers on the board to make it even easier. This is definitely going to be a dead board for Amnesiac, and all he has left is Argent Commanders. Maybe he can get a Fire Elemental off the top to start applying more pressure because these Doom Guards are kind of sitting in the hand.
Yeah.
But it's coming to the point now where Bobby doesn't really have that many cards left to discard. So after this Godfrey comes down, I think he's going to have to start dealing with Doom Guards.
Well, this is clever. He doesn't have to use Godfrey. He can just use Defile, develop onto the board.
Because he wants to make a Doom Guard.
Oh, looks like he kept the coin. Oh, he lost his other Doom Guard. But perhaps the pressure with this one Doom Guard can be good enough now they kept the cube.
Ooh. Maybe. Argent Commander with the Flame Tongue is 1 damage short of the Doom Guard, and I don't think Amnesiac's trading anyway.
Yeah, part of the problem is that Amnesiac doesn't have a good hero power compared to the Blood Reaver Gul'dan. That in itself can just pretty much end the game.
Oh, wow. Did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
Goes for the trade.
And he can also cube.
Yeah, it's just going to die to the hero power. Now it's going to get cubed. No more hexes in the deck to punish. Another Argent Commander in the hand, but looks like it's slowly slipping away from the Boy Wonder.
Yeah, I think that's just game. Like, there's not really much Amnesia can do. I think the Taunt Totem is his last chance.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
So now you have to not let your opponent pop the cube in any capacity because then 2 Doom Guards come out, so you can't play Fire Elemental. It might be Argent Commander.
That's just a tough ask.
I really don't see an out here for Amnesiac any capacity because he doesn't have Hagatha, and he's already used almost all of his top end. He's a Lich King, a Kalamos, Alakir.
I think there's 1 more Sea Giant remaining.
Well, I think the Flame Tongue introduces possibility of him dying because it buffs the minion. But it's Bobby X is just going to wrap this game up with the hero power, and that's going to be game 1 in the books. But again, this is probably Bobby's best deck in this head-to-head because of the matchup spread. Amnesiac plays a fairly aggressive deck that's token-based, or rather board-based. And Bobby X has one of the better decks against it. Two Defiles, Godfrey, Hellfires, plus any other board removal tools, and then you mix in the fact that Voidlord can go unanswered, and that makes Q-Block one of the hardest decks to get through unless you're able to rush it down. So that's just the first game, but we'll see if Bobby X's other decks like Quest Rogue will be able to get through, because supposedly Amnesiac...
One, because obviously there's the crazy Valeera into Giggling, and you make a bunch of 4/4s all in the same turn. But there are also moments where, because it costed 5, you could just finish the quest with the Giggling Inventor, just making impassable shields of Annoyatrons, and just get the quest done that way. But I don't think Amnesiac's too bummed about starting 0-1, just because even Shaman historically has never performed well in this matchup, and it hasn't exactly gotten better over time. And so I think when he was building the lineup, that's definitely one of the last things on his mind was that matchup. And so going into the future games, I think he's going to be a lot less worried about it.
Yeah, and that was a pretty bad pan out too for Amnesiac. He drew 3 of his 8 mana cards plus Sea Giant in a matchup where his opponent's not really developing. So for him, it's definitely a low roll there. Yeah, that being said, Amnesiac not having the ability to develop very easily into this Glacial Shard is kind of annoying. We've seen this time after time. Having a 1-mana 2/1 that can have impact on the board will stop these tempo board-centric decks from snowballing out of control. Amnesiac's forced to either hero power or toss in one of his 2-mana cards. And I think that's definitely a bad spot for him regardless.
Yeah, on the face, it definitely looks like a weird play because you're freezing an 0-2 totem, and you're like, why aren't you saving that for a Fire Elemental or a Sea Giant or something that's going to apply a lot more pressure? But if you know the deck well enough, you know that most of the 2-drops have 2 health, so the Glacial Shard's going to be able to trade into it. Yep. This denies the 2/2 buff card, the Earthen Might, as well. And so there's just so many things that just stops even Shaman in their tracks with just one card. Turn 1, that's just an incredible play.
Right. And for Bobby, he also paved the road for this this Manatide Totem to be really important too. Double Volcano and Lightning Storm picked up. That is a recipe for success. Amnesiac, of course, why would he play the Direwolf Alpha? I mean, he's got his turn 4 mapped out pretty convincingly, and the longer you wait on settling the score with that 2/1, the more threatening and weaker your Corpse Taker becomes. Now Bobby has the ability to Storm, Farsight, or Acolyte.
I think he's probably going to go for the Farsight just because the Acidic Swamp Ooze does contest the Alkalight of Pain. Although I guess it does put Amnesiac in a position where he's going to have to choose between the two.
Yeah, assuming he doesn't have a way to buff
one of the totems.
Right.
Which he does. But there's also the Corpse Taker, which I see 4 mana, and I see a Corpse Taker with orange around it, and I want to play it.
Yeah, I definitely know that Acidic Swamp Ooze is attacking one of these minions. I think... what's actually more threatening? Is it Acolyte or is it the Manatide Totem? You get like a free trade on the Manatide Totem, but Acolyte could punish you with Volcano in the next turn if you can't get past his Serenite Chain Gang. I'm looking at Bobby's deck to see if he has no, he doesn't have Pyromancer, he has Kel'Thuzad in his deck. Okay, so I think I'm okay with leaving that up, but I definitely want to play Corpse Taker, and if I'm playing Corpse Taker, I probably want to pick up a free kill on the Manatide Totem. Although the thing about killing the Acolyte means that he can't get through this Divine Shield very easily. Yeah,
there are so many layers to that turn, surprisingly.
Right.
And I think another thing he could have considered is to kill the Alkalight just so this couldn't happen, where he can't pop the Divine Shield and then maybe do a Lightning Storm turn. But at the same time, Prince Keleseth is in the hand now. He has Volcano, so I don't think an extra 3-6 damage is going to matter to Bobby in the long run, especially with Serenite coming down right now.
The thing about Serenite Chain Gang is that it adds more minions to the board, so Sea Giant can come down.
I think we can actually get a Hero Power, a Flame Tongue, and the Sea Giant down. That's a pretty good turn.
But will he have enough health to survive a Volcano? So
11.
He can heal 1 with the Corpse Taker, so he'll have 8 from the Sea Giant.
I think it's going to be about 2-3 over, depending on what he gets off the Hero Power.
14, 16. Yeah. No, he can even trade in. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He should be over. No matter
Just
how.
barely.
Yeah. Because the Sea Giant's 8. The Healing Totem is 2. And then you'll have 2 from the Corpse Taker. So that's 12. 14. Oh, no. Actually, it depends on this 50-50 of the totem? No, because the Flame Tongue Totem also counts, too. Okay.
Yeah, so that's another 3.
Right,
and then depending on how he trades, I'm assuming the Corpse Taker is going to go into one of these. It's going to heal back up to 2.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how he's going. I don't know whether he's going to trade the Acidic Swampoos in or
he should to preserve
yes,
life.
Absolutely. And so that not only is going to push damage with the Corpse Taker, develops the 8/8, which statistically should live through a volcano.
Right. So
this is just a solid board state.
Yeah, well, this is the ultimate punish, essentially. Because, yes, you can Hex that 8/8, but you're now taking 12 on the backswing, and that's a lot of life to lose. And Volcano doesn't guarantee clear everything.
Neither does Lightning Storm. This Flame Tongue might live. He can Lightning Storm Prince Keleseth, but you're taking a minimum 8. Didn't get it.
And
10 damage on turn 6 coming at him.
Fire Elemental is also really strong. Oh, wow. Fire Plume Phoenix with Earthen Might is interesting, too, because it might increase his plays, but he doesn't get the burst. Fire Elemental hard commits, but the problem is Bobby X is overloaded, so now Volcano is out of the possibility.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, the Fire Plume Phoenix and Earthen Might combo, it doesn't get him out of the range, but Bobby doesn't even have that as an option because he used the Lightning Storm, and no coin to supplement that last bit of mana, so...
I think because Volcano's an impossibility, Fire Elemental is just better, because then you can Earthen Might for burst to wrap up the game. And this Flame Tongue Totem surviving might be just that little edge Amnesiac needs to end the game.
Let's see, he would have been at 15, and he would have pushed 14, 16 next turn.
Right.
And so I don't think, still huge for Amnesiac, but I don't think, assuming he doesn't get some crazy Hex off.
Well,
like
I mean,
now.
look, it still gets buffed by the Flame Tongue Totem.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my.
That's just death.
That's 10. Between the Fire Plume and Earthen Might, that's just lethal. Amnesiac winning what historically has been kind of an unfavorable for the Even Shaman just because of how slow and methodical it's been, and Shudderwalk has done fairly well against those, but that was a very explosive start.
Yeah, but more importantly, like, I feel like Even Shaman is a little bit more inconsistent than Odd Paladin and Token Druid. So now Amnesiac is going to turn to that Token Druid, see if he can take down Shudderwalk Shaman again.
Yeah, Shudderwalk Shaman is just one of those decks where just resource management is just so crucial to your win rate with that deck. And so when you see the wide board with all the totems and the Flame Tongue, and you just immediately instinctually think, Lightning Storm just has to be the correct play here. But if you think 2-3 turns down the line, what if my opponent does this? What if my opponent does this? Am I going to be too overloaded to have the correct answer?
Yeah.
And in that scenario, the Lightning Storm prevented the Volcano, and that Sea Giant pushed so much damage.
Exactly. And now Amnesiac kind of with reverse punish on Bobby X for not having any minion development, so that way Glacial Shard can't answer it immediately. If he shards, he has to shard reactively, and he has to make sure he doesn't get a taunt totem.
It's another one of those matchups that's just kind of awkward on both sides.
Okay.
Scavenger I actually really like just because Saronite Chain Gang buffs, Spreading Plague buffs.
Right.
It's just a really solid card. But from the Shudderwalk side, it's actually kind of difficult because sometimes you just get these board states where it's just a bunch of 1/1s with the Death Rattle. And you're like, Volcano should just clear this, but it doesn't. And so you have to end up using 2 pieces of removal on one of Amnesiac's combos. And there's just so many board states that he has to deal with. He's going to have to fight for board. And
Scavenger's amazing in this spot.
oh, yeah.
Well, it actually plays into Volcano, so Amnesiac does have a case to not do that.
Are you of the philosophy of just going for the value play and just saying, you just have it? Just force your opponent to have the answer, or do you play a little more conservative and you just kind of go for the draw kind of thing?
So Shudderwalk Shaman is one of the more interesting decks for Token Druid to match up in terms of removal because they actually can deal with like double layers of Soul of the Forest, but it's pretty expensive to do so. They have to like Volcano and Lightning Storm or vice versa. And so by forcing Volcano to be used this early, it kind of removes Bobby X's ability to late game deal with Whispering Woods and Soul of the Forest. I mean, this almost feels like it has to be a Volcano. I'd be very surprised to see Bobby X take like a slow approach by playing a minion instead.
Yeah, any amount of board state's just real awkward because,
but this is a
especially
big
with especially with Token Druid, it's just like you just look at a board, you're like, oh, that doesn't look that menacing, but there's just so much stuff that can happen from hand that can make it so much better. And speaking of so much better, he's going to feel a whole lot better with all these new mana crystals he's about to come across.
Yeah, he's basically doubling his mana next turn. He went from 5 to 9. So Bobby X has full development with his Serenade Chain Gang, but you know, how's he going to deal with Amnesiac or hitting Ultimate Infestation? But still, there's one turn away until that happens. Soul of the Forest.
This is the weird part of Druid, where it's just like everything's going right, and you're just gonna have to you have to dump your hand so you can play your best card, so you don't mill anything. And so it's like Branching Pass, you want to kind of save for the attack, but at the same time, you don't want to overdraw with Ultimate Infestation. Whispering Woods isn't that good right now. It's like, what do? Do you just gain armor? That just doesn't seem right.
I mean, you can also just not do anything, but I think Branching Pass to at least cycle itself, draw a card, and gain armor is perfectly reasonable. See Spreading Plague.
You don't feel too bad about going to 6 just because the Ultimate Infestation, you know, you'll go to 5, draw 5, and you'll be at 10. Statistically, one of those is probably going to be an Arcane Tyrant, and so you don't have to worry about overdrawing. And there are worse problems to have than overdrawing one card after playing UI.
Bobby X really looking for maybe a Grumble in this spot. Kel'Seth. Not bad.
Not the best. Not terrible. It's never bad, per se, to play Prince Kel'Seth, although it is a little late in the game. And both Serenites have been on the board, so you don't get any of that stuff.
Do you want to play Prince Kel'Seth? Because it plays into Spreading Plague plus buff.
And also, you can just save it for another Hagatha spell.
True.
Because like I said, you know, both Serenites hit the board, Life Drinker, Alkalight of Pain, and Mind Control Tech already in the hand. And so, how many minions are there even left to buff at this point?
Does he even want to play Kel'Seth because of the threat of Hagatha? Like, if he wants to Hagatha next turn, he's killing off his own minions. I don't know. I think he anticipates Ultimate Infestation, given that Amnesiac basically drew one card and armored up. Is there an Arcane Tyrant?
Last
there
one.
There is.
We also have the Phlebinus Floop, too, so if he wanted to, he can develop another 3/4.
Right.
Wouldn't be surprised. That's kind of the point
that.
of running Floop in the deck, is so you basically have 3 Arcane Tyrants.
Right. And this is like a mini punish on not playing Kel'Seth, because now Hagatha doesn't clear everything.
Get 2 things, but the 3/4 Arcane Tyrant's definitely going to live.
Right.
And even on the follow-up to that, it's even if you, hypothetically, we did clear the board, it's like, what then? It's like you just lost your Hagatha clear. You don't have Lightning Storm. You don't have a Volcano. And Amnesiac's about to drop a whole lot of tokens. There's a Lightning Storm. But you're going to need another one of those.
I mean, I still think the Hagatha's a good play.
Yeah,
and
gotta.
Bobby also keeping this Prince Kel'Seth gives him an extra spell, something we didn't talk about. It's a very nice, cute heads-up play. And second Lightning Storm, that's really
exactly
big.
what he needed.
That's potentially very big.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do the math on exactly how many clears Bobby needs in order to run Amnesiac out of threats, because there's going to be the first Whispering Wood Soul of the Forest. There's going to be a second one, and then I has to be careful not to go too wide on the board, or else he's going to be able to make the third and fourth one with stuff like Spreading Plague. So, what will Amnesiac do? Definitely coming down with one of these.
Yeah, don't need to Power the Wild until he's actually going to push damage, because Bobby X needs to prove that he can threaten this.
1 and 2 health, not going to make a difference to the Lightning Storm.
Yeah, or even a second Volcano, like it doesn't matter whatsoever.
All right.
He can Mind Control Tech as well. Acolyte's a nice pickup. It's a nice 2/4. It helps you draw into your other stuff.
Yeah, I think I like Alkalite over the Mind Control Check, because at the end of the day, it's still just a 1/1, and the reason it's so effective for Amnesiac is because he has cards like Saboteur, Branching Paths, Power of the Wild, while on Bobby X side, it's just a 1/1, and not going to do a whole lot besides add more health to a Volcano board. And so I definitely like the Alkalite just because it's going to be able to trade into whatever Amnesiac plays next turn, and going to be able to draw cards, and he's running really low in the hand, and so he's going to need every card he can get.
Yeah, almost makes me think Amnesiac might be considering, if he ends up playing the Death Knight and not like swiping the Acolyte, if he wants to just summon poisonous spiders to reduce the ability for Acolyte to draw. The big scary thing is if your opponent volcanoes his own Acolyte to draw cards, but that's a second volcano at that point.
And, yeah, and especially with Hagatha up, you can only play around so many cards that can come off Hagatha.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of the Poison Spiders. If you talk to Muzzy at all, he will tell you that Poison Spiders are just correct every single time, no matter the situation. Don't know how much that's true, but he's very adamant about it.
Acolyte.
Third Lightning Storm off the top. Eureka, not the card he was looking for.
Mind Control Tech just to get board presence.
And an extra spell.
An extra spell.
Ancestral Spirit is...
That could be useful. But now Amnesiac has Malfurion. With a very easy play with Spellstone and Hero Power afterwards, and that sets up a reasonable board. Does also have Spreading Plague with the Arcane Tyrant as a possibility as well.
Great 3 minions, and that's about as much value as I think Spreading Plague's going to get this matchup. Because by the time your opponent goes wide with a bunch of Shudderwalks, it's kind of too late. So yeah. let's make some Beetles, play some Arcane Tyrants, or we just clear the board. And I'm not exactly sure what's going to be the better play, just because I don't think your opponent is going to be able to draw that much with the Alkalite. He's going to draw 1 at most.
Yeah. Well, I think the threat of Volcano and his opponent drawing a bunch of cards, like there is 2 ways for Amnesiac to lose this. 1, he runs out of resources completely, has no way to win. 2, if Bobby X manages to get the actual Shudderwalk combo off. And I think by denying his card draw as best as you can, you end up not shutting off, but you end up significantly worsening your opponent's one of your opponent's win conditions. So I like killing off the Acolyte right now, and it turns out Bobby X has really bad plays, unless he rips. What?
I got nothing.
Grumble?
He doesn't even have any minions in the hand to potentially get a random spell. It's just Eureka. Zola has no targets, so it's just tough to look at. Lava Burst a 1/5. That might have to be the play.
Yeah, so even if Bobby X gets Shudderwalk, he wouldn't want to play it immediately because he doesn't have Grumble in the pool. Zola having been played, though, it changes that because you might get a Shudderwalk back if it copies itself first.
Yeah, the Battle Cry still technically goes into the pool even though it doesn't target anything. But at the same time, you're not really too worried about the Grumble not being in the pool, just because at a certain point in the game, Shudderwalk is just a make 18/18 worth of stats and hopefully clear your opponent's board. And then you win through that rather than, the true combo. But Ancestral Spirit and/or hexing a Beetle.
Right.
Oh, that
Freeing
just
up
feels
hand
bad.
space is a real big issue as well. Ultimate Infestation. This is Amnesiac's chance to develop into the board. He just saw a very bad play. Not in terms of whether or not it was a correct or decision or mistake, but it's the fact that Bobby X had a weak play. I think that's a better way to phrase it.
Spreading Plague, not going to get anything. Serenite Chain Gang, kind of the only minion that's, playable. That doesn't seem absolutely terrible. Serenite, Power, maybe. How worried are you about second Volcano? Just because if your opponent does use the second Volcano, that's the second Volcano. And then you can freely go about doing the Whispering Wood Soul, the Forest combo, without having to worry about him clearing unless he, got very fortunate with his Hagatha. So how close do we want to get to creating a board that can bait out that removal while also applying enough pressure to hopefully finish off your opponent?
I mean, maybe you can save the Serenite Chain Gang then instead place one of these 2 Spreading Plagues with Arcane Tyrant, which is similar power.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can also do both without the Power of the Wild.
Oh, wow.
He's going for it. 6 mana, 1/5. Let's do it. Lightning Storm, not going to clear. And Volcano's it. And even then, I think there's too much health on the board.
One thing that's kind of funny, too, is that the Hex Frog's a taunt. So if a Stonehill Scavenger comes into play, it ends up buffing the Frog, too. I feel like the Frog getting buffed is just like a common theme today. Life Drinker picks up a Frost Shock, which is okay. It's not
the worst.
It's not the worst. It's useful.
Lava Burst getting used on a 4/4. Frost Shock probably going face to prevent 3 damage. 5 potentially with the Saboteur. Or is it going to just kill the Frog?
Sure.
Maybe. I'm fine with it, actually.
I think what I like is reducing the amount of minions on board, so that way things like Soul of the Forest is less punishing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There it is.
So there's 6 cards in the hand after Whispering Woods.
Do we make any trades prior to playing this Whispering Wood is what I'm wondering right now. Do you trade the 2/3 in to create another token, or do you want the taunt?
I'm even just counting damage right now. There's 4 plus 8 from Savage Roar, so that's 12, plus the 6, that's 18, plus the 3 is 21. Still fairly close. I like pushing all in here. I like pushing all in here and playing Power of the Wild. Actually, no, Power of the Wild's fairly similar. No, because you have better Volcano stuff. Okay, I like it. I was thinking about, like, do I want to get the Power of the Wild before or after? And this makes it so that Lightning Storm and Volcano is like the only combination left, and Bobby X clearly does not have that at the moment. Man,
yeah, still
doesn't. Not it. And I mean, he doesn't even have much wiggle room because of the overload.
Yeah, even if he had the mana, he could not play Mana Tide, hopefully get the Volcano into the Lightning Storm. Even if he wasn't overloaded, it would have been enough. Healing Rain, unfortunately, doesn't do a whole lot in this matchup, just because by the time your opponent's done damage, it's usually way more than 30, and so you can't heal back from that. And these minions are not doing a whole lot, so it's going to be a desperate Mana Tide totem. Can't even play a second Lightning Storm if you were to get it.
Oh, it only does 1 damage to everything.
If he didn't buff the tokens, that actually would have been insane.
The Beakered Lightning does 1 damage to everything at Overload 2, and would have been Bobby's ticket to potentially surviving another turn. But I don't see a good way out of here still.
He can get 1 more minion proc on the Hagatha if he trades the Zola in. It'll come back to the... Or wait, does it go back? No, it just goes back to the board. It doesn't go back to the hand. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean...
this is it.
There's nothing he can do. The power on the board stays the same.
Hey, you kill 2/2s and other 2/2s are going to replace
Can't
them.
even heal.
Doesn't even have access to spell power to hopefully buff that. Beakered Lightning up. Oh, it was the next card.
And the Amnesiac's going to close out this game. Savage Roar, Branching Paths, very easy lethal. And that's going to be game 3 in favor of the young Savage. And Bobby X kind of have to wonder if he played a little too greedy, a little bit too fast. Or perhaps he didn't do anything wrong whatsoever and just Shudderwock is struggling against aggro.
Yeah, I think as far as the aggro... is Token Druid even considered an aggro deck? I want to use like quotation marks around like aggro when describing that.
It's not an aggro deck.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean that's just relatively speaking.
Speaking of aggressive decks, though, his last deck is going to be the Odd Paladin, and he's going to have to queue it into a Quest Rogue. So Amnesiac's going to be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, this is one of the better hands though. Like,
oh yeah,
for Quest Rogue to deal with the Odd Paladin, primarily through Vicious Scalehide and Sonya Shadow Dancer.
Yeah, this is probably one of the... I was like, the hand's good, and then he mulliganed away that one card and got the Shadow Stab, so that's even better.
Well, Amnesiac picked up a really important unidentified role, which is his Purifier's Maul, which gives everything Divine Shield. Another thing to consider, though, is Amnesiac has no 1-mana minion. It's not as game-defining as it is in other matchups, but it's still very important for Amnesiac because that just means 1 extra minion that gets Divine Shield, 1 extra minion that can attack every turn, 1 extra minion that gets that Raid Leader buff.
Yeah, and he runs 8 of them in the deck, too, so not getting 1 in the opening hand is very unfortunate. But like you said, the Purifier's Maul, absolutely huge because the Quest Rogue does run double Phantom Knives, and so they're going to be able to survive through that. But he's going to have to get some minions on the board before he can play them all.
What is this, Arena? Coin hero power for the dagger?
Whoa.
I mean, it's good because it ends up having board dominance.
Also going with the Vicious Scalehide just to fight for board, and he's going to Shadow Step it and make it cost 0?
Maybe.
Thought I saw him throw that out there. Going to save it.
It's really weak in the one instance that Unidentified Maul gets Champion's Maul to summon 2 1/1s, but Amnesiac does not have that.
Honestly, not even bad now. It's unfortunate that he doesn't have any minions to have the Divine Shield on, but at the end of the day, that's still a 2-damage weapon. And how important is the Scalehead? That's the question he's got to answer.
The scale high is important early game to deny the Paladin from overrunning you. What ends up becoming really good is the Shadow Step combination, and Bobby X has also Sonya. So, like, part of the reason why Sonya is really good is that it allows you to commit so many resources to controlling the state of the board, and then you have a way to finish the quest in the late stages of the game, the moment you pick up a single charger or rusher. So that's why it's really powerful. And even more so because Bobby X has the ability to Sonya Shadow Step, and that's like the ultimate combo dream for, or not combo per se, but it's the ultimate turn 3 play that Quest Rogue players dream of.
Yeah, 2 cards interacting with each other, that's a combo.
Oh my. So Amnesiac
solo
doesn't want the Vicious Scale High to trade cleanly into a 1-attack minion. Plays Raid Leader on curve. What do you think about that?
That's... I'm confused for a lot of reasons, but just by the matchup, how it's gone so far, because it's very unorthodox, but this turn's going to get super punished. We have the Sonya Shadow Dancer going to be able to trade in with the Scale Hide, going to be able to Shadow Step the Sonya Shadow Dancer, so you're going to have a 1-mana Sonya, a 1-mana Vicious Scale Hide, and just all the time in the world to bounce them. We still haven't played the quest, by the way, and Amnesiac, all he has is Lost in the Jungle to develop some minions. He has the hero power, which is still incredible. He's got a Purifier's Maul, but he's got to pick up some gas pretty soon here.
Oh my goodness, the greed. There is so much greed and there is so much punish for this.
What?
Oh, Bobby X is not happy about that. He had everything served up on a platter. And as Sonya goes down, so he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. It's not defined by any means. I mean, he has still like Shadow Step and a lot of ways to bounce with the Youthful Brewmaster. But man, that puts him back a little bit, to say the least.
Yeah, and every single minion he's also played so far hasn't counted towards the quest because he still hasn't played it.
Oh, you're right.
So the Vicious Scale Hide, that's still 0 of 5. So he's not only does he have to like reassess what he's going to do, he also has to just get enough bouncers because Sonya was his ticket out of this matchup and he sent it back to the kitchen. I don't know.
Well, Amnesiac, awkward hand to say the least. Void Ripper's like his best minion play this turn. I kind of like the Fireflies because he has Divine Favor, so he wants to dump his hand, let his opponent draw cards, whatever.
I also like the order, too, because this plays around Phantom Knives
yes.
with the Fireflies.
Very important.
And I think this is going to be a first for me, is seeing Elven Minstrel potentially comboed off of the quest activation. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I think Bobby X's main priority is survival. So this Southsea deckhand is purely for board stability. And I think at this point, too, Bobby X is looking at Banished. That's his like next way to survive pressure. And also has to fade some kind of Fungal Mancer play. Get that delay. Oh, Blessed Maul. That's the worst one. That's a taunt, I believe.
No, I think that's the +1 attack.
Oh, is it +1 attack?
I think so.
Oh, wait.
Sacred Maul.
Sacred Maul. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that's pretty good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's actually the best possible scenario outside of the Purifier's Maul. I mean, you could argue this is better because it puts better pressure on. And he's drawing 5 cards?
I think even more than that. I think he's drawing 6. Oh, yeah, that was good.
No, I think you're right. And there's Leroy, Blessing of Might. Oh, my
Another Raid Leader. The Fungal Mancer, there's just everything you could possibly want. Bobby needs to pick up Vanish, and he's got to pick it up now.
Man, I feel like this Sonya Shadow Dancer Vicious Scale Hide is like such a missed connection. That was like, you know, name a more iconic duo to swing aggro matchups.
Nourish Wild Growth.
This could be the longest game I've ever seen Quest Rogue play the quest and still potentially win, by the way. If he like ends up picking up Vanish. Oh my gosh, do I wish there's this 1-mana Sonya Shadow Dancer right now. That'd just be the sickest thing ever. This Shadow Step is so useless.
He even has the prep to be able to prep out the quest if you were to finish it with the Sonya, but now we can prep out the actual quest itself. Right. But, I think Killing All Day is just like downstairs. He has like a migraine in the back of his head. He's like, "What? I sense a disturbance in the force. What's going on?"
Prep the 1-mana quest. That'd be sick. Yeah, I mean, Vicious Scale Hide hasn't counted towards the quest whatsoever.
He's got 2 of them.
Yeah,
he could be at 4 or 5 had he played the quest with the Shadow Step and both of them in hand.
Yeah, again, this is still not over by any means. 1 Vanish could change a lot. This is ugly.
Still have 2 Phantom Knives in the deck as well that he can potentially prep out to clear off some board.
Right.
Shadow Step finally coming down. Going to use the deckhand just to clear off the Elemental.
Yep. Needs to avoid taking damage.
If he can live a couple more turns, he can get the Valeera off, but unfortunately you cannot prep out Valeera.
Let's see. So Amnesiac recognizes that coming up could be like bigger Vanish opportunities. If that's the case, getting in as much damage as possible is the #1 priority. So Akira's Veteran plus Fungal Mancer plus Blessing of Might is the max, I think, right now, which is 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9, 12 damage. You put your opponent to 7 life, and then you have the ability to Leroy attack for the win next turn. You know your opponent has the Vicious Scalehide, though. But even Vicious Scalehide, Vanish, wouldn't save him.
Yeah. You know he has
still,
2 of them. Yeah. Because one was discounted by the Sonya, and the
right.
other one was Shadow Step. So you know he has 2 in the hand. I think you could make a safe assumption that he might not have the Vanish at this point.
Yeah, I think it would have vanished last turn for sure.
And so I think he's not too scared to go very wide, but at the same time, I think Fungal is just too good of a card, and it pushes puts a lot of stats on the board, pushes a lot of damage.
Okay.
You have the Blessing of Might, Leroy, and another charge to the weapon, and you're putting your opponent down to 10. That seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, he saves it for the Element of Surprise, and I think this is a quest completion actually because of that Shadow Step pickup.
3. No, it's gonna be it's 1 short, isn't it?
He has the Youthful Brewmaster.
Oh, and the Youthful Brewmaster. So the prep, actually, yeah, I think he's going to be able to finish it this turn and heal for approximately 7, I believe. He's going to be able to clear off the Veteran, but
yeah, and
I don't think it ends up mattering because the 7/5 is still going to be living on the board, and with the Reach in hand, I think it's still going to come out the same.
Well, Amnesiac could have gotten a little bit extra burst with the Bestiary of Kings. Could have double dipped on the damage. I don't know. This puts him back up to 20.
7. Yeah, it's going to be 2 off. Wait, no, with the... No, wait, no, he's 1 short. Because if he was able to play the Leroy, Raid Leader, and the Blessing of Might, that would have supplemented the remaining 2 damage. But he's going to be 1 mana short. Quest is done, but Bobby's out of gas.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Hold on. So, very clear your opponent does not have Vanish in any capacity.
Yep. We have 6 on board already.
6 plus the 9.
15. I think we're going to see a turn very similar to the one we saw last turn, where it's going to be Minion Fungal Go.
Creeper. Yeah, Tar Creeper Fungal Mancer seems really powerful in this spot.
Yeah, it's going to take 2 minions to push through that Tar Creeper.
Yeah, and it's
no Sonya left.
It's still like good too because your opponent, even if they vanish, you still get reasonable minions on board.
I hope you like my invention.
Novice Engineer.
Ugh.
Not what he was looking for. Minstrel could potentially find a Glacial Shard. Wax Elemental.
I think he's just dead.
Yeah.
Wax Elemental is not going to be enough to stop the pressure. And Bobby X praying for no additional damage, but I got bad news. There's
just the other Blessing of Might to rub salt in the wound.
There's just Leroy Death right here, but
Leroy Death.
I know Amnesiac, he likes to show the top deck, so I don't blame him if he plays Blessing of Kings. Okay, whatever. It's just going to be the game. Yep. Amnesiac wins 3-1, crushing Bobby X's anti-control lineup with pure aggression by even outfitting his Even Shaman, which is already an unusual deck, with a lot of early game. And I like what Amnesiac's thinking. He's also 4-0, which means that if he wins 1 or 2 more series, I think he's a lock for top 16. Got to be careful if you're Bobby